At 56, I felt something awaken in me, something I thought I had buried beneath hydrangeas and habit. There's just something about black men. Maybe it's the way they move, unhurried, grounded, like they know exactly who they are. Maybe it's the richness in their voices, the kind that vibrates in your chest long after they've stopped speaking. Or maybe it's their hands. Broad, capable, the kind of hands that look like they've built things, fixed things, but still know how to hold a woman like she's made of breath and bone. For years, I folded that hunger away. I pressed it between grocery receipts and polite conversations. I was a wife, a florist, a woman with a schedule, a mortgage, and a man who hadn't really looked at me since the kids left home. Daniel, my husband, is not a bad man. He mows the lawn, pays the bills, falls asleep with the remote on his chest. But some nights, lying next to him, I felt more like wallpaper than a wife. We live in Savannah, brick sidewalks, oak trees dripping Spanish moss, a street where the loudest sound is usually the sprinklers turning on at 5 a.m. Across from us, the Carsons just had their second baby. And with that baby came a new nanny, a man. His name is Elijah. I didn't really see him, not at first. But then one afternoon, just after a heavy rain, I looked out my window, and there he was. Tall, built like someone who lifts more than toddlers. His skin was the color of dark roast coffee, slick with rain glistening in the stormlight. A plain white t-shirt clung to his back like silk. Every step he took had weight purpose. And just like that, something inside me cracked, not wide open, not yet, but enough to let in the heat. If you've ever felt something you thought was long dead come gasping back to life, stay with me, because what happened next isn't just a story. It's a reminder that the life we build brick by careful brick can come undone in a single quiet moment. And if you believe some sparks were never meant to stay buried, like, comment, subscribe. There's so much more to come. It was a Tuesday, late afternoon, the kind of sticky Georgia heat that makes everything feel slower, heavier. I was standing barefoot on a dining chair, squinting at a flickering kitchen light that had been bothering me for weeks. Daniel said he'd fix it 3 times. He never did. So there I was, a dish towel in one hand, trying to twist the bulb loose without falling. And then, "You sure that chair's gonna hold you?" I froze. His voice was calm, warm, and close enough to make my spine straighten. I turned, and there he was, Elijah, standing just outside the screen door, one hand resting casually on the frame, the other holding a folded baby blanket over his shoulder. His t-shirt was damp from the walk over, I assumed clinging just enough to remind me what I'd noticed the first time I saw him, that he was young, but not a boy. Solid, grounded, the kind of man who moved with ease like the world didn't weigh him down. "The bulb's acting up," I said, stepping down quickly, embarrassed. "It's nothing." He smiled, not wide, just enough to shift something in the air. "Mind if I take a look?" I should have said no. I should have thanked him. Smiled, gone back to my quiet evening and my quiet light. But I didn't. I opened the door. "Be my guest." Elijah stepped in. He didn't smell like cologne, just clean laundry, summer heat, and maybe the faintest trace of something herbal. He moved past me and reached up to the light fixture, not bothering with the chair. I watched his arm lift, smooth, effortless. "Loose connection," he murmured. "Looks like the socket's worn out." "Daniel kept saying he'd get around to it," I offered. Elijah didn't respond right away. He just kept working. You ever notice, he said, after a pause, how small things stay broken for a long time? Until someone new shows up? I looked at him then. Really looked. And for a moment, I forgot how to stand still. He fixed the bulb with a twist and a click. The light came on. Bright. Warm. We both looked up at it. Then at each other. Thanks, I said softly. Any time. He said, his eyes not leaving mine. And in that second, I felt something settle between us. Not loud, not obvious. But there. Like static right before a storm. The next morning, I found myself wiping the kitchen counters twice. Not because they needed it, but because the window above the sink had the perfect view of the Carsons' front yard. I told myself I wasn't looking for him. But I was. And when I saw him walking out with the baby in one arm and a diaper bag slung across his chest, I felt something ridiculous flutter in my stomach. He looked up and waved. Just a small gesture, but it landed in me like a drop of rain on parched earth. I waved back too quickly, then stepped away from the window like I'd been caught stealing light. That afternoon, I brought a delivery to a client down the block. Just 2 houses past the Carsons. Just close enough. And as I was walking back, I heard his voice. How's business? I turned. Elijah stood in the driveway, a garden hose in one hand, the baby monitor clipped to his pocket. Busy, I said. Everyone wants hydrangeas this week. Yours always look better than anyone else's, he said. I laughed. Too fast. That's because I talked to them. He tilted his head, smiling. Maybe that's what most things need, just someone to pay attention. I felt my breath catch, not because of the words themselves, but because of the way he said them, like they weren't about flowers at all. I held his gaze a second too long, then nodded, half turning. I should get back. Of course, he said, still watching me. Don't let me keep you. But it didn't feel like I was the one walking away. It was hot. One of those southern afternoons where the air sticks to your skin like syrup, and even the birds seemed too tired to sing. I was trimming the hedges out front more for the motion than the need when I saw him across the street. Elijah, shirt damp, forearms glistening, a baby monitor clipped to his belt, a soft hum in his throat like he was half singing to himself. He caught my eye and smiled. Not the polite kind. The kind that holds your gaze just a second longer than it should. I went inside and poured 2 glasses of lemonade. Told myself it was neighborly. Told myself it was just kindness. But I added a sprig of mint and wiped the condensation off the glass with the edge of my sleeve. I walked across the street holding both glasses like peace offerings. Thought you might want something cold, I said. Ma'am, he said, grinning as he took the glass. You might just be the hero of my day. We sat on the Carsons' front steps, a foot or two between us. The kind of silence that doesn't feel awkward, just charged. He took a sip, nodded. You always take care of people. I looked down at my hands, the faint trace of soil under my nails. I guess I like knowing when someone needs something, even if they don't ask. He turned his head toward me. When was the last time someone asked what you needed? I didn't answer. I didn't have to. The question floated between us, warm and heavy. A breeze picked up. My hair brushed against his shoulder. Neither of us moved. Our hands rested on the warm concrete, so close, not quite touching. But I swear, I felt it, that invisible thread, pulling, tighter. It started with thunder, a low rumble that rolled in slow, like a warning wrapped in velvet. Daniel had left that morning for a conference in Atlanta. Said he'd be back in 3 days. kissed my cheek like a habit, not a thought. The sky darkened by mid-afternoon. I was in the back garden moving a few pots inside when the first drops fell heavy warm, like the sky didn't want to hold it anymore. I was reaching for the last planter when I heard it. A knock. Soft. Measured. I wiped my hands on my skirt and opened the side door. Elijah stood there, damp curls stuck to his forehead, shirt clinging to his chest, a baby blanket draped over his arm. "Didn't mean to bother you," he said, voice low. Powers flickering next door. "I came to check if it's out on your side, too." I shook my head. "Not yet. But come in. You're soaked." He hesitated just for a moment, then stepped inside. The storm cracked behind him. We stood in the kitchen, just like last time. Only this time, he wasn't fixing anything. "You okay?" I asked. Elijah nodded, then paused. "You ever feel like you're holding your breath?" he said. I didn't answer right away. He looked at me then. Really looked. And I forgot what silence was supposed to feel like. There was no lightning in the room. No drama. Just two people standing a foot apart with too much unsaid between them. And then he reached up, brushed a strand of hair from my cheek slow, gentle. Like it mattered. Like I mattered. I closed the space between us. One step. One breath. Our lips met. Not rushed. Not planned. But inevitable. His hand found the small of my back. Mine curled into the damp fabric of his shirt. Outside, the rain hit harder. But inside, I felt warm for the first time in years. After that night, nothing changed. Not on the surface. The neighborhood still looked the same. The mail still came at 11:30. The hydrangeas still bloomed in the same soft blue. But inside me, everything had shifted. I still waved at the neighbors, still ran the flower shop, still made dinner at 6-folded laundry on Sundays. But now, I checked the window more often. Not obviously, just a glance here, a pause there, listening for footsteps, watching for movement. Elijah and I didn't talk about what happened, not with words. But we found each other, again, in quiet places. In moments that felt too small to name but too loud to ignore. Once in the alley behind my shop. He stopped by to pick up a bouquet for the Carsons. I handed him the flowers. Our fingers touched, just for a second, but we both felt it. That hum, that ache, that pull. Another time, he came by on his lunch break. I was trimming roses in the back. He didn't say much, just leaned against the doorframe watching me. And when I looked up, he smiled. That slow, knowing smile. And I felt my knees forget how to stand. We didn't need to touch. Not yet. The space between us was already burning. It was after. After the kisses, the lingering touches, the kind of closeness that no longer pretended to be innocent. We lay on my bed legs, tangled the ceiling fan spinning above us like it was trying to cool something too far gone. Elijah's hand rested lightly on my stomach. His voice, that deep, unhurried rhythm, broke the silence first. "Your husband," he said softly. "He's got the house, the accounts, the comfort." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. But he doesn't have you. His words didn't sting. They settled, like seeds in soil that had been waiting too long for rain. I turned to him. "You think that's enough?" He met my eyes. "No," he said. "But if you wanted, we could have everything." The way he said it, like a whisper wrapped in velvet and fire, made my breath hitch. I didn't answer that night, but something inside me began to shift. A week later, I opened a new bank account for the business I told myself. Then came the excuses. A refund here, a supplier payment there, just small amounts. At first, just enough to move without notice. Elijah never asked for anything directly. He didn't have to. Every time he kissed me, every time he pressed his body against mine and breathed my name like it meant something, I gave a little more. Of myself, of my truth, of Daniel's trust. I told Daniel the books weren't adding up because of delayed invoices, that flower prices had gone up, that maybe it was time to let me handle the business side so he could rest. He believed me. Of course he did. Until the day he didn't. I came home to find him sitting at the kitchen table, bills spread out like pieces of a puzzle he no longer knew how to solve. "Something's wrong," he said. His voice sounded small. I ran the numbers twice. The shop's bleeding money. I stood there, arms full of tulips, and lied again. Elijah quit his job at the Carsons. Said the kids were sweet, but he needed a change. The truth, he didn't want to sneak in through side doors anymore. He moved in the next day, no bags, just a drawer in my dresser, his shoes by the door. Daniel had left quietly the week before. No confrontation, no closure. Just a suitcase and one last glance from the porch. "Take care of yourself," he'd said. And I had. Or at least, I thought I had. For a little while, everything felt electric. We slept in. Danced barefoot in the kitchen. Elijah laughed more, kissed me like I was still a secret. But then the distance started. Late nights, locked phone, quick explanations that didn't quite land, helping a friend, just clearing my head. He was with me. But less and less of him felt here. I had burned a life to build something new. And now I wasn't sure what, if anything, was left standing. It started with the small things. Missed calls, late night showers, his phone always face down. I told myself I was being paranoid. Told myself I'd imagined the way his smile had shifted. But one night, something inside me snapped. He said he was going for groceries late again. I waited until I heard his truck pull out, then followed. I stayed 2 cars behind, no headlights. The city was quiet. Even the traffic lights seemed to blink slower that night. He pulled into a small apartment complex, not a grocery store. I parked across the street, watched. 5 minutes later, she appeared. Young, bright lipstick, skin smooth and glowing under the porch light. She opened the door and smiled at him like she'd been waiting all night. He leaned in and kissed her, not quickly, not cautiously, but like it was home. My heart didn't break. It stilled, like it had finally stopped pretending. I waited until morning, made coffee, straightened the kitchen, set his packed bags by the door. When Elijah walked in, he paused, eyes flicking from the bags to me. "What's all this?" he asked, smile faint, cautious. I didn't speak right away, just stood there calm. "Where were you last night?" He blinked. "Groceries. At 11 p.m. He shifted, smirked a little. "You don't trust me now." I took a breath, reached for my phone on the counter. "I followed you," I said quietly. His face changed fast. "You what?" I sat in my car. "Watched you walk into her apartment. Watched you kiss her like you used to kiss me." "It's not what it looks like," he snapped. "Then what is it?" He opened his mouth, closed it. Silence. So I showed him the photo. Him, lips on hers, hands on her waist, frozen in the act. The last defense in his eyes broke. "You don't understand," he said, suddenly desperate. "It didn't mean anything. You're different. I never planned to hurt you." I shook my head. "You didn't have to plan it, Elijah. You just did it." He looked at the door. then at me. So that's it. Yes, I said. That's all. He picked up his bag, walked to the door, but this time he didn't carry the same swagger. He looked smaller, like a fire finally smothered by the truth. And as the door clicked shut behind him, I realized some storms don't end with thunder, just quiet. I used to think that kind of fire meant something, that if someone made you feel alive again, it had to be fate. But I learned something in the ashes. Passion is loud. Love is quiet. Passion wants. Love sees. Elijah made me feel wanted, but Daniel, for all his silence, once saw me. And I burned that away for someone who only knew how to spark, never stay. If this story stirred something in you, even just a little hit, like leave a comment and subscribe for more stories that don't always end in fairy tales, but always leave something real behind.